Anti-fascist engagement is always the highest priority. Socialists don't understand this, okay? Always, every single time. It always is, no matter what. Okay, this is something that I could talk about with increasing concern in my voice for like 3 hours, but I'm going to try to keep it short and expedient because I think that a lot of the information here kind of speaks for itself. So recently, Texas signed a quote critical race theory bill into law. Okay, now alarming in and of itself. This law, allow me to quickly adjust chat. We are playing Binding of Isaac, and everything is proportioned to that scale. This law is in and of itself rather alarming. I want to read out a little bit to you and gauge your reaction, if I will. So it was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott. Uh, and this is after some long discourse in the Texas legislature passing back and forth various versions of this bill. But the one that got signed into law said, and I'll describe this now, this law, which goes into effect the 1st of September, includes a list of founding documents that Texas students must be taught. It also includes a list of additional historical documents written by people of color and women that House Democrats had added. It also mandates that students be taught, quote, the history of white supremacy, including but not limited to the institution of slavery, the eugenics movement, and the Ku Klux Klan, and the ways in which it is morally wrong. Listen to that again. It teaches about these things and why it's morally wrong. That's nice. I also think white supremacy, slavery, eugenics, and the Ku Klux Klan are morally wrong. Unless it's like Warhammer 40K Space Marine eugenics, but we'll talk about that later, okay? That's a different segment. There are still problems with this bill. It bans the teaching of the 1619 Project, which, again, where are they teaching the 1619 Project? Can somebody, like, was this part of the Texas school curriculum in high school? Like, seriously? This is what they do with the moral panic all the time. Like, we're banning the teaching of satanic idolatry. And, like, everyone's like, woo, yeah. It's like, okay. Was that happening? What's the 1619 Project? It's like a New York Times sponsored historical analysis, which talks about the ways in which America's roots are built in racism. It's like 99% correct, and historians tend to like it. There are just a couple claims that people have taken issue with in the historical community, which they've then like mostly amended. So it seems pretty great, actually. Of course, conservatives despise it because they don't want to, they don't want to believe that racism has anything to do with the founding of America. Or more accurately, they don't want to be taught that. They know it is. Anyway, there are still problems with this bill. Teachers cannot be compelled to discuss current events, and if they do, they must, quote, give deference to both sides. Interested in seeing if Republicans will hold true to that if teachers start talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, like, Israel, Hamas, I don't know, hey, something tells me that when the give deference to both sides things, what they actually mean is like the January 6th Capitol riot, the big lie with the election steal, other stuff like that, I have a feeling that otherwise they probably don't. 9/11, the Taliban, the United States, I don't know. So you're thinking probably this seems bad, but not super bad, right? Well, remember when I said that there was a back and forth in the Texas legislature? This was not the first version of this bill to get pushed forward. An earlier version of this bill just passed through the Texas Senate and is trying to now amend the version that's being passed. This edited version, which cannot go through the Texas House, because as some of you may know, Texas House Democrats have fled the state in an event to wait out the special quorum. They are now preventing voting on this. They have literally fled, and they are based, and I don't care what people have to say about that, because they're preventing a truly terrifying set of laws from passing. There's the anti-voter bills. Let's take a look at some of the alterations that this new amendment to the anti-CRT bill is proposing. So keep in mind, we are now looking at what the Texas Senate has already passed, amendment to the existing anti-critical race theory bill, okay? There's a Twitter thread that goes over the differences between these two laws. This is called the Senate Bill 3, Texas Senate Bill 3, the repeal of the House Bill 3979, okay? So we're talking about Texas Senate Bill 3. You understand? Let's take a look at what's being removed. On the left-hand side, we have the House version, and then on the right-hand side, we have the Senate version. Here are some things that were removed, okay? The history of the Native Americans, no longer a part of the curriculum in the Texas school district now, school districts. Just don't have to teach that anymore. That's it. Just, that's out. If this gets passed, this Senate amendment, just goodbye. Sally Hemings and Oni Judge, who were both slaves, respectively, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, their writings. It gets way worse, by the way. Here are some things that were removed. On the right-hand side, you have the cleaned, censored, Republican-approved version. On the left-hand side, here are things that are no longer going to be part of the curriculum. Writings from Frederick Douglass's newspaper, The North Star, the Book of Negroes, the Fugitive Slave Acts of 1793 and 1850, the Indian Removal Act, Thomas Jefferson letters to the Danbury Baptists, William Still's Underground Railroad records, the Chicano movement, women's suffrage and equal rights, the Civil Rights Movement, the Snyder Act of 1924 and the American Labor Movement, the history of white supremacy, including but not limited to the institution of slavery, the eugenics movement, and the Ku Klux Klan, and the ways in which it is morally wrong. MLK's letter from a Birmingham jail and I Have a Dream speech, Brown versus Board of Education, so on and so forth. Essentially, this Senate amendment is making an effort to strip out almost every element of teaching about the history of racism and anti-racism in America. Everything. Just a complete blank slate. Yeah. The Texas Senate also cut historical documents relating to the civic accomplishments of marginalized populations, including documents to, they literally say this, by the way, cuts out documents related to the accomplishments of marginalized populations. They're not even pretending this is some ambivalent pruning of unnecessary information. They're literally targeting information about the accomplishments of non-white people directly. And this passed 18-4 in the Senate. Yeah. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the 15th Amendment, the American Labor Movement. And remember specifically, they actually went back and edited out the part where you said you had to teach the ways in which the history of white supremacy, the Ku Klux Klan, the eugenicist movement, and slavery are morally wrong. Yeah, the state Senate, sorry. Right there. They had that. That was info that existed. And they were like, no, that's not right. We shouldn't be teaching children these things are morally wrong. I doubt they'll be teaching anything about it. So this is an amendment to the bill that just passed the Senate. It can't go through the House right now because House Democrats fled. So right now it can't be voted upon in the House. With regards to this particular amendment, this is one of the most severe, sharpest, politically motivated, and mask-off attempts at rewriting history in favor of the conservative political narrative. Which, hey, guys, remember how all the conservatives were saying, dude, critical race theory is bad. Why can't it be like Martin Luther King? Why can't you be like him? Why can't you be like the I Have a Dream speech? They're cutting that too. Because that was always their goal. Not to ban critical race theory, but to use it as a buzzword that they could then use to legislate out anything and everything having to do with educating children on the history of racism and anti-racism. They don't want to talk about it because, much like the myth of colorblindness, if you ignore a problem, you don't have to deal with it. If you deny people an education on their history, then you deny them the ability to see patterns. If you keep them from understanding the history of this country and the ways in which it is racially biased, they will mistakenly believe that all of the coincidences, all of the little additive properties of modern racism are just those coincidences, nothing else. There's no history there, no pattern, no supremacy, just, I guess white people are just on top because they worked harder. That's what Republicans want you to believe. They want the myth of meritocracy and the reality of racism to coincide so that everyone acknowledges the superiority of white people through only the myth of meritocracy. They want to promote what is essentially a race-neutral racist world, one in which the supremacy can be preserved without an open and explicit agenda of racial supremacy. It's far more effective and far more morally palatable these days than just saying flat out, like, I think white people are better. Instead, you ensure white people are better by rigging everything in their favor, and then you say, we live in a meritocracy. So why are white people better? Well, it must be because they're if it's a meritocracy and they're doing better, then it must be because they're better. And what else, what would these children have to disagree on? They weren't taught anything. They weren't taught the I have a dream speech. The majority of the driving force of American history, which has been the antagonism between the marginalized and the oppressor, is gone now. All of it's gone from the curriculum. If this amendment passes, which unfortunately I feel like it will. Well, that's apolitical Republican, indoctrination for you. You have to be taught to love America, but you cannot be taught to love, well, you cannot be taught to hate racism. By the way, Democrats are in part responsible for this. You know why? Because right now, Biden and every single federal Democrat should be screaming from the top of their lungs about how bad this is. Why are Democrats not saying Republicans are trying to ban Martin Luther King from our schools? Why is this not? Why are they not treating this with the outrage that it deserves? Republicans will find outrage in nothing. They'll get angry over critical race theory, indoctrinating all children. They'll make stuff up to get mad about. This is real. It's happening now. Democrats should be taking advantage of every ounce of public power they have to be screaming about this. This is not the time for bipartisanship, and it is not the time to be calm. This is insane. This is the principal criticism of the Democrats. This is why people talk about the ratchet theory, where the Republicans turn us right and the Democrats keep us from moving left, because they put no fucking effort into meaningfully and culturally opposing any of this. They play up the bipartisanship. They play up the, gesture of unity. The most that Biden will do to criticize the right is say that, like, Trump's like a meanie and he's, kind of crazy and whatever, man. Like, this is insane. They should be furious over this. There should be, like, moms' councils of Democrats marching out in Texas and Houston and Austin right now screaming. There should be protests over this, but nobody's talking about it because Democrats don't manufacture outrage even when it's legitimate. They put no effort in. They are utterly incapable of fighting back against fascism because they're not willing to break with civility to do it. It's disgusting. This is probably going to pass eventually. I wonder if anything will happen when it does. Voting rights activists think Biden actions fall short of his dire warnings. Democrats can't manufacture outrage. Do you have any idea how effectively they could do this if they wanted to? Like, the right is so good at this. Think of how the right really weaponizes outrage, okay? First of all, they're on one line on this, okay? They're political leaders, they're pundits, they're like YouTubers, all of them are on one message. They switched to critical race theory like that. They had nothing else, and then they just pulled it out of their hat. Critical race theory mentions skyrocket. This is what we talk about now. Unification, okay? They elevate instances of bad discourse and outrage. Like Tucker Carlson, we saw a segment of his, largest pundit in the country. What was this segment about? Half of it was about bringing more attention to Twitter drama. Hey, here's some guy in Illinois who's mad about critical race theory. Hey, here's some private school where some moms were kicked out because they fought back against critical race theory. Elevate it, get people mad. Feel like people on the ground can make a difference by making a big fuss out of the injustices they experience, okay? Constant, aggressive, active engagement with all the people who watch what you produce, who listen to what you have to say on every level. Every Democrat needs to be in line with this. But we don't do that. We don't get that. That's not a privilege we get to enjoy. Outrage gets to be something which is exclusively relegated to the people least justified in weaponizing it. Republicans are the ones who manufacture the outrage. We have January 6th, I guess. No, we fucking don't. Do you know what would have happened if January 6th had been reversed and Antifa had stormed the Capitol? We would be living in a fucking nightmare, City 17, Combine, doomer 1984 state right now, okay? If the Republicans were in power and that was a Democrat-led attack on the Capitol against them, they would have used it as justification to kick down on every single political prescription, okay? Every single one. They would have called in the National Guard, they would have killed thousands, and they would have used the political outrage to strip us of all of our freedoms. What did the Democrats do? Nothing! We got Justice Dems who said that they were traumatized by it. They talked about it, but they got virtually no support from the main establishment Democrats. They got nothing. People aren't outraged about this. We have people on the left who are like, it wasn't even that big of a deal, dude, whatever. We have people who, Chaz happened. Chaz was nothing. Chaz was a block party that lasted 2 weeks, okay? Jesus. Chaz, you're going to compare that to January 6th? We didn't even get the commission. There should be outrage, real outrage, but there's not. None of us understand the threat. None of you understand the threat. I guess you do. You Americans. You don't understand, okay? The myth of progress and its stability corrupts you. You think, oh, this will be the way it is forever. We get minor variances and how quick progress is made and how bad things get sure. But on the whole, things always get better with time. They don't. Things can backslide. And the outrage that we've weaponized has been pithy and meaningless compared to what's been used against us, okay? If Fox News can do nothing but talk about gender-neutral potato head and CRT, how is it that the main news stations are doing anything but screaming from the rooftops about January 6th? Or about, the tyranny and the fascism of the Republican Party? We need to do this on every level. They need to be elevating people on the ground and making outrage out of stories. But we're so weak. We're so fucking weak. Everyone on the left in this country, they just want to live their days. They have no idea what it means to commit to a broader political narrative. Republicans fucking live and die for the shit they believe in. Republicans are lunatics, dude. They're insane. They will go out there and they will risk their life on COVID because they think the vaccine is a microchip in it. They're fucking insane, okay? Democrats aren't willing to commit to that degree of engagement at all. They don't have it. They're not. Not their leaders or their voters. Does outrage work for Democrat voters? Fucking make it work. Humans are naturally susceptible to outrage. But what is Democrat outrage? Ooh, cafefe. Ooh, Trump is so uncivil. Ooh, the Mueller report. Nothing. Nothing. All filtered through institutional bias, all of it filtered through action or inaction, the ability to sit back and watch other people do or handle things. Nothing like the action, the drive that fascists have. And that's why they win with minority numbers. You think the Weimar Republic was 51% Nazi when the Nazis took power? No, they only need a minority because they're more driven than the people they fucking kill. We don't have as much money as the Republicans? Wrong! Democrats raise more money than Republicans. There are Democrat senators who are fucking rolling in it. We have multi-millionaire Democrat senators and congresspeople who do nothing but use that money to retire out into the hills and buy refrigerators full of ice cream. No drive, no ongoing engagement, no willingness. They could be putting money towards projects. They could be elevating voices, people on the street. What was your experience with racism? Hey, here's a quick fucking question. Why have we not made celebrities out of every single person who was a victim of police brutality? Question. Because the right makes celebrities out of every single person they can. Why don't we make celebrities out of the people who were brutalized back during the protests after George Floyd? Why do we not elevate every word out of their mouth? Why do they not go on just tours across news stations talking about how they were brutalized by the cops? Why? Because we don't care, whatever. We see it happen, whatever. We move to the next story. No weaponization of outrage because it's fucking ghoulish. It's not ghoulish to elevate the narratives of people who are victims of police brutality. That is not ghoulish. What it is harrowing. But there's nothing wrong with shining a light on reality. Yeah, a lot of Democrats are scared to acknowledge how far gone the right is. Isn't it like 1/5 of people in this country think that the vaccine has a microchip? Something like that, about a fifth, I think. What was that study? It was on Twitter earlier today. I gave it a look. Yeah, about a fifth. About a fifth. Tens of millions of people. Near 100 million. Getting there. Microchip. That's what we're up against, by the way. And those people will die, too, for their politics. They will. If you're insane enough to genuinely believe that shit, you'll die for your politics. You whatever. You'll storm the Capitol. You'll go attack the Capitol. You'll suicide bomb a Democratic vote counting office. You'll whatever. Yeah, doesn't matter. Don't you see that's the kind of thinking focusing only on the outrage will cause? What? No, it works. Why do you think Republicans are able to dominate so much cultural space when they're a minority compared to Democrats? Trump, like Biden's, here's a question, okay? Like really quick, okay? Biden approval rating. How popular is Joe Biden from 2 hours ago? That's nice. Look at that. All right, now let's take a look. Trump approval rating. Thank you, 538, for giving me this information. As always, appreciated. Now, here's a question for you guys, okay? Why is it that Donald Trump ended his presidency at less than 40% approval, nearly 60% disapproval, whereas Donald Trump is at 52% approval and 42% disapproval right now, and yet it feels like Donald Trump and his cohorts are the one who control discourse in this country? Oh, Biden? Sorry, Biden, not Trump. Yeah. Look, here's Trump. Here's Biden. Why does it feel like Trump and his cohorts are the ones who control all discourse in this country and we only respond to it? Why? No, I want answers. Why? Loud minority? Why are they louder than us? Why? More people like Biden than Trump by a very statistically significant difference. 52% approval versus 38? That's a significant difference percentage-wise. Why do they control the discourse? Because they know how to stir up their base. Because they yell louder. Because they're radicalized. I'm radicalized. I'm radicalized against fascism. That's the best place to be radicalized. Why aren't more people radicalized against fascism? I mean, we can just look right now. I mean, I could be like shooting myself in the foot here because I haven't like planned this, but MSNBC. Come here, MSNBC. What are we talking about? Here we go. Bunch of YouTube videos. General indicator of what's being talked about. Now let's take a look at Fox News. What's being talked about here? Here we go. Here's Fox News. Let's vibe check, huh? Since when are politicians becoming your doctors? Anti-vaccine hysteria. Teacher calls critical race theory dangerous. Oh, elevating a person on the ground to promote a fear-mongering narrative. Criminals are brazen because of anti-police rhetoric. Here's more of the Facebook stuff. Mask requirements, blasting liberals soft on crime policies. Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger, I guess, who was pretty critical of Trump, I think. Practical environmentalism. What's the like-dislike on that? I don't like practical environmentalism. Hey, here's Charlie Kirk. We're going to be talking to this guy soon. Hey, that's nice. This has 1 million views. California passes guaranteed income plan with no restriction. Biden admin transfers out first Guantanamo Bay detainee. How nice. Let's see what's on MSNBC right now. Senate Democrats seek creative ways to pass voting rights legislation. What makes Ron Klain the nerve center of the Biden White House? We brought back the economy. Capitol rioter sentenced to 8 months in prison. Pediatrics group recommends masks. Here's another rioter that was sentenced. Something about Epstein. Delta variant. More on the virus. Pressure on Facebook. Does America have interventionist amnesia? DACA. Where's the owning the cons? Oh, this one's fine. Republicans have become a pro-death party. True. Where's the owning the cons? Oh, that was my chat. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Why am I looking at this? Vaush discovers the two-party system. Is this a joke? Are you pretending this is information I'm not already aware of? The point is, Fox News and the Republicans are way better at manufacturing outrage than we are. The thing is, we don't even need to manufacture outrage. We have actual outrage. You guys realize the thing I just covered with Senate Bill 03 in Texas is legitimately more terrifying than almost anything like education wise that I've seen in my life. Like it's one of the most severe restrictions of of like the possible range of thought of students within Texas, you know? But nothing? None of this? Oh, Joe Manchin headed Texas GOP. What? Uh, CNN may be more against than MSNBC. Yeah, let's take a look at CNN. Well, their views are fine at least. Jeff Bezos, Facebook fires back at Surgeon General. Trump lashes out at Fox News after report on Arizona's recount. Tucker Carlson won a record. John Bolton blasts Trump. This is better. This is more antagonistic. Yeah, this is better. They could be doing more, though. They could be doing so much more. We could be doing so much more. We don't have to manufacture anything. Yeah, it's all Trump, too. It's Trump because Trump gets views. But Trump wasn't the problem. Trump was just like a festering abscess of the problem. The problem is fascism, and you're not going to attack that just by making Trump out to be the loon that he is. You have to attack the roots. Yeah. You all get what I mean. Are you saying the lib media should appeal to their audience's emotions? First of all, they do. And second of all, this isn't even an emotional appeal. It's just presenting information that, like, gets people angry. An emotional appeal would just be, like, no information, just get angry over this or that. But this is real stuff worthy of getting angry over. I don't know why, but your YouTube stream is showing up at 144p for me. I have no idea why that is, but I promise you I'm streaming at a higher resolution than that. God damn it. Oh, you all get what I mean. Vaush, the Dems and lib media are just controlled opposition. Quit saying we. No, they're not controlled opposition. That's just how liberals are, okay? Sorry, but this has happened in other countries before. It's not like some giant plan to, like, enable the Republican Party. This is just how liberals are, and it's what they vote for. They vote for things that are safe and incremental and procedural. They like civility. They don't like angry discourse or whatever. They vote for people who represent those values. But why, Vosh? Because it's a hard world, all right? Hold on. The tweet you look at that listed history and historical text is not the most important part of the bill. The part of the bill is prefaced by a statement which encourages teaching of the stuff on the list. The second part of the bill, page 4, line 9H3, is way more important to cover. Obviously, the bill is partisan, but that tweet focuses on the wrong part of the bill. It's being taken out of the curriculum. You're talking about the Senate, the third Senate bill, right? Not about the 3983 or whatever that actually passed through the House. Is your prescription here just to shout at people about how bad Republicans are? Yeah, we should. So more people turn against them. Yes? Yeah? Pushing back against fascism is good? Yes? You just want people to hate Republicans. Yeah, sure, go for it. Yeah, fight fascism. Cool. Be angry against them. I want protests in the street. Is that bad? Yes. Cool, agree. Just more strategy might be warranted. We're not talking about strategy right now. We're talking about ways of getting people invested. Yes, I do have the radical opinion that fascism is bad. No, I'm talking about the House bill. No, I wasn't talking about the House bill. I was talking about the third Senate bill, the amendment that's being that was passed recently, 18-4, the one where it removed all of those provisions from the curriculum in the state. The Democratic Party doesn't have any serious incentive to sufficiently push back against the Republicans, but because you're an American, you still can't comprehend the fact that Dems are not remotely left-leaning. I love it when, like, 4 IQ brainlets come in here and they hear criticism of the Republicans and they're so desperate to prove they're not a Democrat that they come in here and they're like, you know that the Democrats aren't literally Castro, right? You are so fucking stupid. Your brain is so unbelievably fucking tiny that it could be used to run like fucking floppy disks, okay? You could fit on 2 floppy disks, all right? You fucking suck. Everyone knows. Nobody here is surprised by the information that you've provided. Wow, Democrats aren't super left-leaning. They're actually like at best center-left at their best moments and are generally a moderate party. That's amazing, dude. Thank you for saving the discourse with this information. Of course, nobody here was actually claiming the Democratic Party is super left-leaning. We were just saying the Republican Party is really, really bad. But thank you. I knew that the broiling, tiny, personality-less heart within you could not stand a moment longer of you being in the company of people who were not 100% positive that you weren't a Biden stan. So thank you for stepping forward and freeing all of us from that misconception, you worthless piece of shit. Opposition to fascism should always be the #1 political priority of left-leaning people at all times. Nothing else even comes close. Nothing comes close. Nothing in the world. There is no greater priority, okay? That kind of anti-democrat lefty is unironically kind of reactionary. Yeah, well, apparently they're a tanky, so they are a right-winger, so no wonder they took issue with this. No wonder they were angered by my anti-fascist screed. It's because they were one. Fuck all of you. Anyway, anti-fascist engagement is always the highest priority. Socialists don't understand this, okay? Always, every single time. It always is, no matter what. If you have to work with liberals to fight fascism, do it, and don't fucking cry about it, okay? At least you're fighting fascism, the age-old enemy of socialism, okay? Nothing else even comes close, all right? I don't care what else you have going on in your life. That is always the highest priority, okay? Every time we don't do this, we lose. Every time. Every single time. Every time we don't do this, we lose. Well, social democrats are basically the social wing of fascism, so I don't actually see any difference between the SDP and the Nazi party. And then they all ended up dead. And then they all ended up in a fucking ditch with bullets carved out through the back of their skull pan, okay? Every single time we try this, we fail, okay? Every time your hatred for liberals takes precedence over your hatred for fascism, we lose. All of us. You kill us, too. Shut up.